23 first downs, 6 of 13 on third down, just under 50%. 0 for 2 on fourth down. That was more towards the end of the game. 4 sacks allowed, 6 penalties, 53 yards, 2 fumbles, and a time of possession of 31 minutes and 7 seconds. And they blew the game.
The only stat they lost in what you mentioned was the third down efficiency.
Yep.
And the most important stat of all, the turnovers.
And
that's why we're 3-1.
Welcome to Six Rings and Counting. I'm your host, Corey Idle, and joining me as always, the man that is officially about to fire members of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Mr. Lou Willard. It's been nothing but doom and gloom all week.
Week. You mean fire members of the Pittsburgh Steelers fan base.
There you go. We can do that too. We are coming to you guys after the 27-24 loss to the Indianapolis Colts. And I just have to say this very quickly to all the Steelers players, specifically the defense. When I preview a game for you guys and I say the outcome is going to be pain, bring some pain. Making me look like an ass up here. What are you doing, TJ? Well, I'm coming for you, TJ. I've had it.
Hey, man, look, he's still getting held. So, I mean, they got to figure that out. They have got to figure that out, man, because I am telling you, you just can't. Some of those are, I mean, granted, there's holding on every play. I know that. I'm going to hear about that. But some of those were just egregious. I mean, dude, damn near tackling him as the quarterback is booting around that way. What are they looking at?
He's getting the opposite treatment Patrick Mahomes gets.
Yes.
Which doesn't make sense. It's your best defensive player in the league. He's a good guy. He does good things for this community. He's out there just doing positive shit constantly. Pardon my language. And the refs won't give him any special treatment. But then you watch a Kansas City Chiefs game, and you can't deny they aren't getting calls.
Oh, that's all they do. But, you know, he's getting that treatment. And I know this show and fan base don't want to hear, but they're doing Myles Garrett the same way. And he can't get a call. I'm like, man, they could at least try to block him. I mean, when you're just wrapping your hand around the guy's waist, it's a too much. It's a too much.
That Italian side is coming out.
You got to make a call.
Lou gets mad and that Calabrese comes out of him. It happens. The Steelers on offense netted 404 total yards, 282 passing, 122 rushing, 5.9 yards per play. You're going to notice something in most of these stats. This sounds like we won the game. 23 first downs, 6 of 13 on third down, just under 50%. 0 for 2 on fourth down. That was more towards the end of the game. 4 sacks allowed, 6 penalties, 53 yards, 2 fumbles, and a time of possession of 31 minutes and 7 seconds. And they blew the game.
The only stat they lost in what you mentioned was the third down efficiency.
Yep.
And the most important stat of all, the turnovers. And that's why we're 3-1.
Yeah, this was definitely a disappointing game. The offense, in my mind, outside of some of the silliness that we'll get into with fumbles and just bad snaps and doing stupid things like that, the defense was the letdown here.
Yeah, look, you're going to have that. It's their third road game in the first 4 games too. And it's about time that the offense have to catch up and have to carry them. They can't carry it every week. They're going to have off weeks. Now, they don't want to hear that, but the reality is they are. And you've seen it on the very first play when JPJ should have had that pick, but he mistimes his jump. And they get a 37-yard gain. And I'm like, here we go. And then they go right down the field running the ball, which that doesn't shock me. A lot of teams give up some nice chunks on the pit. Well, I don't know about a lot of teams, but Pittsburgh is prone to give up a nice drive on the opening drive. They like my Buckeyes. Opening drive, you just look like you're going to get scored on every series, and then they settle in. But they never really got their footing, and I figured we were in trouble. And I told my wife when we were watching the game, when Anthony Richardson got hurt, I said, oh, boy, now we in trouble because here comes Flacco. Now they have a quarterback. Because I'm not an Anthony Richardson believer.
No.
He's too prone to turn the ball over, which when he got hurt, what did he do? He fumbled. That's how he fumbled the ball. He got popped. Because I told you last week he going to come in there trying to run everybody over. You ain't running over top of them like that, man. This team hits. Even though we gave up too many yards on the ground, we gave up way too high of an average of 4.2. I knew the kid was going to get hurt if he kept running like that, and he got hurt. But when Flacco came in, I said, man, damn, now they got a quarterback. And we just couldn't catch up.
And here's what's funny about that Anthony Richardson comment, because I agree with you. He's shown me no reason outside of his running ability to be really nervous like you're going up against a prime quarterback. Not all of that. I'm not bagging on him because that's not necessarily all his fault. He's still very young. He's 22 years old. However, he put up 17 points. He got this thing kicked off 17-0 before Flacco even smelled this game. So to me, there was just something off. And I think you're right. It's the road games. Could they possibly, in your opinion, been looking ahead to this week's game against the Cowboys?
I mean, even though they'll never admit it, but they absolutely could have. But I don't think that's what happened. I just think they got off the bus not ready to play. And that Indianapolis defense came out smoking. And Indianapolis, let's face it, they have a good offensive line. Mm-hmm. What they don't have is a good passing game, which shocked me because Pittsburgh knows it. So why were they able to run the ball on us?
And to your point, once Flacco got in the game, they had that lead to establish where we were playing the run a little bit more and the passer that Flacco is, where I say what you want about his age, his ability to move in the pocket, whatever. When he throws that ball, it's hitting its target.
Yeah, it's accurate. Very accurate.
Period. So, and I think this is a thing that a lot of people mistake in these games. You got grown-ass men on that other side of the ball. They're playing the same game. They got they're the same talent level. They made it to the NFL. They're one of 32 greats at that position, et cetera, et cetera. So you can't, even though we joke around like we should win this game, we're predicting pain and all this stuff. These are grown men on the other side of the ball, and they want that win just as bad as the Steelers do. And apparently they wanted a little bit more.
Well, then the thing, too, is people don't realize the difference between who would you consider the best team in the NFL. Some people will tell you the Chiefs just because they won the last 2 Super Bowls. Okay, so let's say it's the Chiefs. Some people will tell you the worst team is the Patriots. Well, now I think it's actually the Dolphins because they lost a quarterback and they have nothing. I think they're the worst team in the league right now. But the gap between those two teams are so marginal. That's how close the NFL is. Who foresaw the 49 or the Patriots going to Cincinnati and beating them that way in week 1?
Exactly.
Nobody saw it. They thought Cincinnati was a top 3 team in the league, and they thought at the time the Patriots were the worst team in the league. Patriots go to Cincinnati and win. So these teams are not as far away from each other as people think they are. And these two teams, the Pittsburgh and the Colts, damn sure aren't that far away from each other. I mean, they're both teams that people consider to get that 5th, 6th, 7th playoff spot. So they're the same team. That's why losing this game, it can possibly come back to haunt Pittsburgh down the road.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you lost the head-to-head.
I'm hoping for this Cowboys game. This loss might be one of those good things to recharge the defense, get some motivation back. They saw the offense put up the points they needed to when they needed to. I have absolute faith in Justin Fields to lead this team. If he can get the fumbles, okay, I made my plea to TJ. Justin, I'm talking to you now. You in this center got to get it right, man. Every single game. And this one at the end of the game killed the momentum.
But that wasn't a fumble. That's what a lot of people don't understand. What it was a miscommunication on the snap count.
Right. Because he lifted his leg up and
it was on the first leg lift. The right guard saw it, tapped him, and he was still trying to make adjustments. So it's a snap he catches usually in his case 95 out of 100 times. We got to clean those last 5 up. Yep. But nonetheless, that was just miscommunication. The fumble was the other fumble was the fumble. But we're thinking they got that one back or something like that. But that's just a miscommunication on the snap. That wasn't a real fumble.
And to Justin's credit, he did come out in the presser and admit after the game, that was my fault. I lifted
Well,
my
yeah, shit
leg. I
was
was
his fault.
trying to get an extra little sneak peek. Totally my fault. So good on Justin for being able to admit that and not, push it off on somebody else like some of these other guys will do. George Pickens fumble.
That's the fumble I have a problem with.
It's one of those things where you don't want to harp on it. It's a one-time thing so far. He doesn't have a history of fumbles that I know of.
No, he doesn't. But this is why I have a problem with it. It was a lazy fumble to me.
Yes.
That fumble should have never taken place. And I could even forgive that. But you know what really irks me? And this is what the knock on him is. He didn't talk to the media. Come on, man. You still had 7 for 113. Go out there. Guess what, guys? I messed up. I was trying to make a play, got loose with the ball, got sloppy with the ball. I cost our team big time fumbling on the 4-yard line. Okay, what about the production you had? Oh, the production I had really doesn't matter when you make a mistake. We win as a team, lose as a team, and I was a part of that loss today. Next question. Yep. You're done. You're done.
That's what they train you to say.
You learned that from high school because everybody that's in the league was a star high school player and the camera stayed in your face. You've been doing that since high school, more or less college. So now when you get up here, this is like the back of your hand. Those are routine states. I just rattled it off and I'm 50. Haven't done that shit in 32 years.
That's it.
And just rattled off the answer. Pow, there it is. Now, y'all can still be as mad at me as y'all want to for fumbling, but I just owned it. I didn't want to talk. I had a really good game, but I told you that doesn't matter because I fumbled and the team lost. So we're not even talking about my stats. You want to talk about my stats? Go ask coach, go ask receiver coach, go ask somebody else. Because right now I'm here to clean up my game and my mistakes and not cost this team wins.
That's the reason nobody's harping on Justin Fields right now.
Because when they asked Zach Frazier, they said, "What happened with the snap?" And he said, "I have no idea." He said, "I got to go look at it because I know the right guard tapped me. When I get the tap, I snap."
Right.
So I have no idea, but I'll go ask him. He didn't have to do that because Justin Fields in the other room going, "That was my fault." It's just accountability.
That's it. And professionalism. Nobody wants to see you duck responsibility for. You would have been out there if you scored 4 touchdowns talking about yourself. So now you need to be out there when you have the fumble talking about yourself.
Even if he did not fumble that ball and just had 7 for 113 and we still lost the game, he'd have still been out there doing the interviews. He didn't do the interview because he fumbled.
100%.
That's the issue I have with it.
Before we break down and get into the Cowboys and wrap the show up, I want to ask you a couple things because we got a lot of news surrounding the Steelers right now. The big rumor now is Davante Adams is likely to be traded, which I can see it.
Yeah, he has to be traded.
Yeah. And the Steelers are, of course, the front runner. The same goes for DeAndre Hopkins. And there's another older receiver out there right now floating around whose name escapes me that people are talking about. What do you think about Davante Adams rumors? And by an extension, if you can't get Adams, bringing in a guy like D-Hop?
Well, what does D-Hop? D-Hop's been hurt, unless he's got that hamstring injury as well. Because we know Adams does not have a hamstring injury. He don't want to play for the Raiders anymore.
Yeah.
But to start with that, we'll start with D-Hop. You always take a guy like D-Hop's never been a locker room problem. I guess he got that way a little bit with the Texans at the end, but that also had to do with a owner that may or may not have said a few things regarding a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So I'm not even rehashing that, but elsewise, he's been a perfect citizen, bounced around a couple times. We'd love to have him. Don't think he's coming. Davante Adams, okay, you're the Raiders, and he don't want to play for you, so are you going to let him go where he want to go?
Right.
So because he wants to go, I don't know who said Pittsburgh is the front runners. The front runners are the Jets, so he can go back and play with Aaron Rodgers. And then if Green Bay didn't have all those receivers, I'd have to think he wanted to go back there because he said he should have never left Jordan Love when he seen Jordan Love play.
Facts.
So then you can get into Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh's not the front runner. The front runner is the Jets. And if the Raiders are going to do what's best for business for the Raiders, the front runner should be the Patriots. They got a ton of money, and they have a ton of money, and they have the picks.
Yep.
If it was me and you don't want to play here, go play up there. Because unless I could be mistaken, he may have a no trade clause. I don't know.
If he
does not, If he does not, his next game will be in a Patriots uniform. And then they can give me some picks and a player. I don't know what player I would want. I probably just want the picks.
Yeah.
Because their rosters, unless they're going to give me, being the Raiders, unless they're going to give me Ramondre Stevenson, who can't seem to hold the ball right now. And he has 4 fumbles in 4 games. That's not going to get it. But if you're not giving him up, which they won't, then you just give me picks. But that's where I would send him. But he wants to go to the Jets. I'll be very surprised if the Steelers get him. That said, if you get him, bring him on. Because it's clear we definitely need a number 2 wide receiver, because who knows where Roman Wilson's coming back. And he's never played it down in the NFL. We don't even know if he's going to be any good. We think he will. But, you ain't got nothing on tape to prove it.
If you're Arthur Smith after these last couple games, are you trying to devise or scheme up a little bit more Calvin Austin III? Because that dude, again, in the punting game this week, he went off with that speed. And I'm watching this game and I'm thinking to myself, why are we not focusing on him a little bit more? I understand you got George Pickens. You're going to give him his targets. That's fine. But you can use Austin just to keep the defense honest with reverses, fake reverses, you know what I'm saying? Play actions with him, throwing it off in the flats. There's so many things you can do with a guy of his speed level, and they just don't seem to be utilizing him.
The way you get him the ball more is to open up the offense. My question to Arthur Smith would be this: hey, brother, how come we got to be down 17 before you let the quarterback start playing? That's the question I have. Why we got to be down 17 points for you turn this young man loose, and look what he did. And if Cordero Patterson don't get hurt, this dude going to run for 100 yards.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what was up with Najee, but he looked slow, like he was running in quicksand.
Yeah.
And that's been a knock on him from a big part of the Steelers fan base. They're like, we see why Pittsburgh didn't extend him or pick up his 5th year. I'm like, I'll be honest with you, I see it too. If, his big thing is he's at 1,000 yards every year. Man, they're playing 17 games now. So you should be able to get 1,000 if you're getting the ball as much as he getting it. Give me something dynamic. Give me 1,500.
That's what I'm saying.
And then we could talk about, talk about it then. But, Arthur Smith has got to let them play the way he called the same offense you called when we was down 17-0. Call that to start the game.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see Pittsburgh put up 24, and they coughed up the 4th down in their territory, got stopped. That was at least a field goal. Pickens fumbled. That's at least a field goal. There's your 30.
Yep.
God forbid you turn one of them touchdowns. You could be up to what? Well, we have 24. You could be up to 38. It happens that quick. But it only happened when we got so far behind. You can't keep catching up. This team is not built to play catch up. Even though I could be wrong because they caught up quick. But it was kind of like the playoff game in Buffalo, and Arthur Smith was not there. 21-0 right out the gate. You cut it to, what was it, 20, cut it to 7 with the ball, didn't get it, they punch it in again, boom. Yep. Cut it to 24-17 or something like that with the ball up in Buffalo in the snow. We didn't score, punted to them, they came down, scored, put the game away 31-17. There's your game. You can't fall behind like this in these NFL games. These teams are too good. It's very rare that a lead like that gets blown. And you've seen, like, Dallas ran down Baltimore, but guess what they ran out of? Time.
Yep.
You could arguably say if they played 5 quarters, Pittsburgh win the game because they took the first quarter off. They play one more quarter, Pittsburgh wins that game. They had all the momentum. Jonathan Taylor just gets banged up. Mm-hmm. Everything's turning, but the clock kept turning too. And they ran out of time.
And the clock keeps turning on this show. So now we're going to get into the Dallas Cowboys. What are we seeing this week, Lou?
Dallas is struggling is what I'm seeing. They're coming to Pittsburgh without their 2 defensive ends. They don't have Lawrence, and most importantly, for our sake, they don't have Micah Parsons. Mm-hmm. You hate to see guys get hurt, but look, if you're going to miss a game, brother, appreciate it being this one because he will be back. But they're looking at their numbers, man. They're struggling. They're not playing great offense. Part of that is because they don't have a running game. This is a great week for Pittsburgh to get back on track defensively. This team should not have 60 yards rushing total. They should not get 60. Who's going to get them? And I have one of their guys in fantasy football. But it's just going to be a bad week for me at that spot. Because after the way Pittsburgh did not stop the run, I look for them to have an attitude coming into this Sunday night game, primetime game, which Pittsburgh typically does not lose those games. And I look for them to shut that down. JPJ and CD Lamb is going to be one hell of a matchup.
Oh, that's going to be fun to watch.
And JPJ he had his first average game. He did not play great. That was not great for him. That's a very average game for him. That's a good game for a lot of corners. But he's just not a good corner. He aspires to be great. And I think he will. He's trending that way. But Sunday wasn't his day. And now he got some dog in him. We all know who his dad is, and he damn sure has some dog in him. I seen him start a fight in the pregame when we were at the Cleveland game. He started fighting the pregame. But nonetheless, this matchup is going to be good. It's going to allow our defense to run. Dallas's defense has not shown up yet. And then you just lost your top 2 pass rushers.
Yep.
This defense surprises me. They do have a new coordinator, but at the end of the day, I think they're ranked like 26th. So Pittsburgh, with that offensive momentum, should keep that going. I think Pittsburgh's even favored. You can check real quick. I think they're favored by like 2.5. Yeah, and then the over and under is 43. First off, Pittsburgh should cover, and this thing should go way over, because it wouldn't shock me if Pittsburgh went up 13, 16-0, and Dallas is going to come out and throw the ball 50 times.
If Arthur Smith shows up.
If we coach like we coached when we were down 17. This Dallas defense is going to have one hell of a time containing Justin Fields, because like I was looking at the I forget who it was, or I'd give him credit, but they said the same thing I said. I said, this dude is scrambling to throw the ball. When he was in Chicago, he was scrambling to run.
Yeah.
But he didn't have anybody to throw it to in Chicago either, except DJ Moore one year. Now he has weapons to throw that thing to, like you brought up Calvin Austin. Let's just get him loose. Van Jefferson to be there in the middle of the field. McMuth will be right there. And we all know what JP can do. Or Pickens can do. I'm sorry, what Pickens can do.
Yep.
And he's running the throw first, and that's going to stop them linebackers from just flying up as soon as he starts scrambling. And if they don't, just take your 6, 7, 8 yards and make one of them miss, and then slide, please. Because if this kid has not won this job yet, I get Mike Tomlin does. Mike Tomlin's a great politician. He does not have to answer that question yet because Russell Wilson isn't playing.
Right.
But when he is, I don't understand how this kid has lost his job. We lost James Daniels, who was a really, really good, and I'm biased, I say that, but he's a really, really good right guard to a torn Achilles for the year. That's the 4th lineman we've lost for the season. So now we're going with backups, and luckily they do finally have depth, because Spencer and these guys are playing good when they come in the game.
Oh, yeah.
But so you're going to take your really mobile quarterback out and put in a guy with a iffy calf behind 4 backup offensive linemen. That doesn't make sense to me. Let this young man go ahead, and he's earned it. You're not giving him anything. Mike Tomlin's not going to give you anything as a player. He will give you what you earn. And Justin Fields has earned this job. But you know who else got to show up this week for Pittsburgh to win this game? Najee. He should be fresh. He took a week off. Man, get your ass together. You're too big to run like that. This dude got to bring it. He should be running with an attitude like that. Defense should be swarming to the ball with attitude. And now we get Jaylen Warren back this week too. Hopefully the young man can stay healthy because he's dynamic. But I look for this game. It'll be a good game. It's Pittsburgh, Dallas. Dallas's reputation and their heritage and their sense of entitlement is just as high as Pittsburgh's. Every year we all think we should be 2 best teams in the league.
Yep.
They claim to be America's team. We are America's team. And both organizations have pride that goes back 50 years, man. Actually, longer than that. Hell, I'm 50. We talking 70 years just built in pride, steeped in tradition. This will be one of the most watched games of the year just because of the logos.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, 100%. I love watching them play night games in prime time.
What do you see? Give me a prediction as we wrap up the show. What's your final score here? What are we looking specifically at?
I'm not so much worried about the loss last week because I like the numbers that you read off at the beginning of the show. So I see Pittsburgh's offense clicking. And if I saw it, Arthur Smith had to see it, had to get a little bit more trust in Justin. They don't have their top pass rushers. We should be able to move the ball both through the air and on the ground. We know Boz is money when we need him. I look for this to be Pittsburgh's first 30-point game.
All right.
Dallas, on the other hand, is going to get theirs. They'll get 17-23. I could see 30-17. I could see 30-20 Pittsburgh. That's why I think that over is way low. I mean, I'm hopelessly optimistic, but that just seems low.
Well, my guess is Vegas is seeing what I'm seeing, because in my mind, this is a perfect game for Arthur Smith to outthink himself, which he has done in every big game in the past. This has that just scenario of George Pickens as our decoy. We're featuring Van Jefferson and Cordarrelle Patterson, and Freiermuth ends up with 4 catches for 60 yards as our leading receiver.
If that happens, we lose.
Oh, 100%.
If Freiermuth is the leading receiver, we lose the game.
Yep.
I mean, he has to have 120 and 2 if that's the case.
Yeah, no, that's exactly how I see it.
Yeah, and you said 60.
Mm-hmm.
He needs 120 and 2.
I could see Arthur Smith really blowing this, but
see, we're still in the first quarter of the season, or we just wrapped up the first quarter of the season. You're starting to know who you are. So if he didn't see it, I don't know what he's looking at. So I'm still trying to hold out hope for this brother.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying. I'll give you a final score. I'm going to say Steelers 33, Cowboys 27. I think it gets a lot closer than it is because Arthur Smith plays around in the first half a little too much, and the Cowboys are able to stay with us for a while.
If it's like that, then my fantasy football team will blow up because I have CD Lamb.
There you go.
If they're getting 27, this dude got to have 150.
Then there you go. I mean, I've never been wrong before.
Oh, God, no.
Especially when it comes to fantasy football. I'm a guru. For Lou Willard, I'm Corey Idle. This has been 6 Rings and Counting. We will catch you all next week.